For the new member BOF, we've got Enrico Zini, Jonathan McDowell, Jonathan Wiltshire, Santiago Ruano. Who am I missing? Nicolas. Sorry, I don't know your surname. Dandrimont.
Yeah.
And
Mattia Rizzolo, who is not listed. So.
yes, I'm sorry, my apologies. All right.
It's not your fault.
That's fine.
I'm the one who submitted the talk, so if any names aren't there, it's my fault, not yours.
But you see, I should have asked beforehand, so it's all good. All right, so let's just start with the BOF, all right?
This has ended up with a shorter slot than we wanted, so I didn't produce any slides, and sorry about that. We are most of what's known as front desk, plus a member of DAM. We are all involved in the Debian new member process, which is, I guess, mostly about when you become sort of a Debian maintainer or a full Debian developer. A lot of that's been about the ability to upload packages, but we also have the concept of a non-uploading Debian developer. So for people who are active members of the project, have no interest in uploading packages, they can have their key go into a separate keyring, which then means that they are able to vote. They are, full members of the project, but have no upload rights because, principle of least privilege. If you're never going to use it, don't get the access. Front desk sort of heard all of that. There's a bunch of application managers. I have no idea how many application managers we have at this point in time, but they're the people who, if you're becoming a DD, will actually walk you through the policies and procedures, do the tasks and skills, and sort of just generally do that. Do they know what they're talking about? Should they be a full DD? We're mostly the people who then, assign AMs, and then we'll do the Debian maintainer process as well, which should be incredibly lightweight, right? So Debian maintainer actually being able to upload specific packages that you've been working on should be something that you can move into after you've had your sponsored uploads for a while. Your sponsor should be happy to say, yes, you're good to upload your package. I trust your technical ability. And after that, it's largely a tick box exercise, right? Does someone advocate for you? Do you have a suitably signed key? You're good. You can upload very specific packages. And then DD is the one that involves the application managers. I guess this is an opportunity for people to ask questions. I see a bunch of familiar faces and a bunch of unfamiliar faces. I should have started with, has everyone heard of the new members process? It's a good job that EPL has heard of the new members process, otherwise it would be boring. Has anyone got any comments or questions about the new members process?
So as a potentially new member, I don't know anything about it. So this is our very first DebConf, me and John. And yeah, it's been wonderful so far. I've got a lot of links that I need to go read up on. Yeah, but I've not, I actually don't know really where to start. So anything would be good to know.
Okay.
I sent you a link to debian.org/join, so you should go read that.
Not valid for people who are not friends with DPL.
Oh, I'm here. So, there is an ambiguity in the name, unfortunately, where we are the team that helps people get an official membership. And it's different than mentors, so then assisting people who are new in Debian. So basically, we don't exist on a person's radar in theory until somebody's been contributing in Debian long enough that people start telling them, go on, get a membership, an email address, and vote. So before that point, there's other ways in Debian to get help, which is mostly ask a friend, and there's sponsors for packages. I think we could do better there, but it's out of scope here. Once people start telling you that they trust what you do and you get it, then you come find us, and and say, yeah, I would like to be officially a member of Debian. And then there's a documented procedure. I think it's documented at least 2 or 3 times in different ways. See Thomas Lange about his work of cleaning the Debian website. Mr. Fay, Thomas Lange? Okay, yeah. And yeah, we accept both technical people and non-technical people that contribute to Debian. And the process is running quite smoothly now. I haven't seen complaints in a good decade, I think.
That's stretching too much, but nothing interesting the last years, at least.
Yes.
Not interesting is fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
You might wonder what to expect when it comes to that step, and that's because there are 2 or 3 routes, then the documentation overlaps a little bit. When you reach the stage of saying, I'm ready to join, I've got people who will vouch for me, then you prepare an application which the new member site guides you through. There's a few admin checks to go on, like have you got a key of the right properties, have you got enough certifications on that key so that we're sure that it belongs to you, and so on. For an uploading application, typically the first stage would be to join the Debian maintainers keyring. That's the limited upload rights one. And so you'll work through a sponsor initially. When you're in the maintainers keyring, you can then, for a whitelisted set of packages, upload autonomously. So you can also prove that you can handle those rights on your own without a sponsor looking over your shoulder. And then a full application to uploading developer is the next step from that, and that's where an application manager will work with you and present you to the DAMs at the end of that process. A non-uploading developer, one who isn't going to have upload rights anyway, just doesn't go through the first maintainer step. So you'll prepare the full application, have an application manager, and work with them to the end. There are a couple of doesn't affect applicants, but if you are familiar with the process, there's a couple of changes in the last year, maybe 2 years, of interest. One is that we have delegated final approval of those applications to front desk members, not just DAMs. So under supervision, they are able to make the wheels go round on actually putting the keys into the keyring. We maintain oversight of that and delegate it to them. I'm trying to think of changes in the teams as well since we might have last done a session like this. So we welcomed Nicolas and Stuart Prescott, who's not here but you might know, to the account managers team, and Enrico has stood back to an extent from that, but is still involved in he's still involved in helping us with that. And has front desk changed in recent years?
Right.
Sam Hartman, who you might know as a previous project leader, has joined front desk to help out a little bit there as well.
I just wanted to make a point about the actual process. So if you're actually getting into the being able to vote stage and an application manager is assigned, first of all, that there's no quotas on the number of people we let into Debian, right? So some people sort of view it as like an interview, which it really isn't supposed to be. And your application manager should be going through it with the idea of trying to get you into Debian rather than stop you being in Debian. There's an expectation you understand if you're doing an uploading, you have to understand Debian's technical side of things, you know, the intricacies of package uploads and all, on how you do a proper package. Everyone needs to understand what Debian's ethos is, so things around the Debian Free Software Guidelines, those sorts of things. So it's are you a good fit? But the hope is that if you're coming to actually apply to be in Debian, then you are a good fit and you already understand Debian, and it should be an easy enough process. and there should be some allowance from your application manager about rewording stuff, right? So if you get the answer wrong or you can't quite phrase it fully, they should be able to come back to you and go, can you elaborate on that? It's not designed to be something anyone feels. I've never seen us ever tell anyone, no, you definitely can't be in Debian. I've seen some people be told, go away for 6 months and do a little bit more and come back, and then they come back and then they've got that extra experience. So it's very important so that people realize that this is not meant to be an onerous thing. It's, you got to write a bunch of stuff, and maybe not all of us are comfortable writing huge paragraphs of text, but it's just about sort of explaining that you do understand what Debian's about, so that we make sure that people understand what the project's about before they come in.
Yeah, the point is not to test the knowledge, is to make sure that people who enter Debian have seen the important parts. So it's not really a test, because we ask a question by email and you can reply in your own time. But it's to make sure that people know where to find information, know how to ask around. And know that don't procrastinate for months replying to an email without telling, sorry, I won't be around for a month. So it's a bit of a, could be like a trial run of working together, if anything. Oh yeah, and you can see the questions, most of the questions you can see in advance, unless the application manager is creative, there's a public repository with all the questions. It actually happened when I was application manager that I would ask the questions and I would get the reply within half an hour, and I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, well, I got bored waiting, so I answered all the questions, and now I'm just copy pasting. Okay, cool, fine. That was fast.
Yeah, and another aspect of the application manager step is also making sure that the applicant is actually exposed to all of Debian, or at least some parts of Debian that are sometimes not seen while you are a regular contributor. For example, you are tested on knowledge about library transition or like copyright information, like if you're actually able to read a license, which is it's part of being a Debian developer, and it's not trivial at all, and you at least need to know that you are going to do that, and if you have the patience, so this kind of stuff. It's not an exam, and it can be also fun sometimes or not, it depends.
Every single new member I've been an application manager for has taught me something I didn't know about Debian.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually learning for both parties, so it's not it's not stressful necessarily.
If you think you don't know enough about Debian as you want to, apply to be an application manager and ask people questions. There's a question?
I'm just curious, are we like net adding more members than we're losing? And also, is the new members team looking for more people to help?
So the new member team, so front desk is not looking for members actively. We are perfectly able to keep up with the load, so we don't need to expand our team. But is your question related to active Debian developers or to the team members?
So I think it was the developers,
okay, so
project members.
Right. So the project members they are increasing steadily, mostly because we are not good at retiring people. We kind of encourage the project members to formally retire from the project, because that's like cleans up the status, makes easier to actually get a proper quorum for votes, for example. Also removes. It was mentioning the concept of least privilege. That's, I mean, if you have people with their key in the keyring, that's a potential risky, risk. So if people are not active, they should really retire formally. And some people do, but way too many developers just vein into nothingness and unresponsiveness, and but they are still formally project members. So this is the only reason why we keep increasing. Otherwise, we will, I think for all counts, we are pretty stable over the years.
I have this figure in my head that Debian is about 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. The actual Debian developers and Debian voting members is perhaps the most accurate way to phrase it. Seems to sit around 1,000. I would say we have a number of developers who aren't active in any noticeable way in the project except for looking after their pet packages. So we do have a bunch of people who are sort of silent, just project members who don't really turn up.
Yeah, I think 1,000 plus minus 100 is a good figure. Sometimes it goes low when we just, I don't know, kick people out for inactiveness or goes. I think now right now we are around 1,100 or something.
So it's time to kick some out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very difficult to detect when a person is not active, because they may always get active the next day. Okay, if somebody hasn't voted for years, then maybe if somebody hasn't uploaded and voted, there's like metrics one can apply, and then the missing in action team has a bit of a hard task.
Yeah, I'm actually here in Incognito, but I'm also in part of the team that is like look after and try to reach out to inactive members, and we have several people in the project that have been completely inactive and completely silent for more than a decade, and that's screwing for statistics.
If only we had a website where you could see what contributions someone had been making to Debian.
If only that was enough.
The other good way to flush out non-active people is key requirement rollovers, and we're going to have another one of those coming up in the next few years, aren't we? So expect a big notch out of the list when that comes around.
But that's only one part, because we actually have yet to kick out the people from the 2015 rotation. So.
Yeah. So there's nobody has a clue what to do. It's not obvious what to do with people who didn't do anything for 10 years. That's the conclusion. We have no process, no established best practice or something.
It's difficult because like I've seen mails going out saying, hey, we are going to close your account because we haven't heard from you in 10 years, and people replied really angry, but I'm doing so much for Debian that you can't see.
Yeah.
Okay, do you need account and you're not voting, and what? Yeah. So it's humanly it's a thankless job, and maybe as a project we could take a bit of a harder stand and set some baseline metrics of if you haven't voted for so many years and we don't have any other visible activity from you.
Yeah. So but these metrics have not been set yet.
No, maybe like. With Debian, it's hard to add stuff, and it's easy to add stuff, and it's hard to delete. So maybe at some point we could just say, we don't care, get angry if you want, but we'll do this, and create a button that you can click saying I'm still here or something, which is like vote, if anything.
One of the things that we did do quite a few years ago now, but discovered recently people aren't fully aware of, is we have a system that makes it much easier for people to leave the project gracefully. We call it one-click emeritus, and we can send an email out to someone as long as they can receive email to their Debian.org address. We can send out an email to that address where they can click on the link, and that'll do enough verification that they can write a mail and it goes to Debian private. Because what we've got in a lot of situations is I've seen people angry when we contact them and they've gone, I left the project ages ago, I'm not jumping through all your hoops, or I had to jump through all these hoops to do it properly and I just can't be bothered. And that's reasonable, right? They don't care anymore, they've left this project. But if they don't have a valid PGP key anymore, or they just don't have the time, they can get this link sent out. And who can send that link out? Can anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone in NM, I think?
Yes.
In front desk, I mean.
So anyone in the front desk team can send that out to someone. If you know someone, or you are someone watching the video, though while you're watching the video and don't want to stay part of Debian. But anyway, there's an easy way to help people leave the project that doesn't require them jumping through all of the hoops, and the QA team are quite good about updating packages to then indicate that they're no longer maintained, and all of that can sort of happen. And we would much rather someone took the time to say, I don't have the time to jump through the hoops, but I'm not active anymore. Can you send me the link? And click that link and write the thing, and that'll be them done. We should probably actually update documentation to indicate that. I think the developers reference have that.
Besides this link is actually accessible from the NM profile. So if you have like a Salsa account, you can log in on NM and click it yourself. Because like if you can write it to NM to ask for the link, you can actually just write to private and retire directly, technically. So it's all a preconception in my opinion. But
I think the issue is there are a bunch of people who don't have the logins for Salsa. Salsa is a relatively recent.
Salsa actually also locked the accounts of all the people who haven't logged in the first 2 years of introduction or so. Yeah. So.
Emeritus status is much easier to return to. Much easier to return from than removed status. So, I'm sure some inactive developers are kind of hanging on because it was such a pain to get in the first place. They don't want to have to go through that again if they return later. Emeritus means that there's actually a very lightweight. Have you kept up with what's changed in the meantime? Yes, come on back in kind of stage. So if you're not sure whether you may or may not be coming back, that is the one to go for. And then at least we've got an accurate voting corpus rather than having loads and loads of inactive people hanging around.
One last question, then I'm being told we have to make closing remarks.
So what takes longer, going back from Emeritus or getting a new package accepted?
Coming from Emeritus can be very fast.
Okay.
I saw people coming back in like 2 or 3 days, which is faster than average new. Except Kidding. Kidding takes time. It's 1 month at most. So.
I was about to close by saying I thought the process works reasonably well. I mean, we have historically, as a project, had some issues about getting people in. There's no doubt that we have not been as good about getting people in the past as we would have liked. I think that we are operating reasonably smoothly at the minute. We generally have enough application managers around. When we don't, we put out a call and people do pop up. The process of going through that sometimes takes a while, but that's usually an indication about the application manager and the applicant and sort of the conversation they're having rather than anything intrinsically wrong with the system. The keyring side is working reasonably well. We do keyring updates once a month and that gets through. The DAM side is working reasonably well in terms of once the keys in the keyring, the account is usually created within a few days, and I don't think I've ever seen it take more than, I'm not sure I've even seen it take a week. So from our perspective, this is working. If you don't think it's working, you didn't want to speak up here, by all means, email us or grab us. There's only a little bit of time left in the conference, but tell us what's going wrong so that we're at least aware of it, because from where we're sitting, things are much better than they were 10 years ago, and that's certainly the feedback we've had from anyone who's commented on it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to the new members team.